Welcome to Under the Alder Tree. I'm your host, Shelley Carter, and thank you for joining us today. I know I always say I'm excited about the topic of conversation that we're going to have, and tonight is near and dear to my heart. We're going to have a conversation about cannabis and pharmaceutical drugs, the effects it has, and how the cannabis can help, and a whole lot more. And before I introduce my guest tonight, I'm going to state a disclaimer, and that is I am not against medical care. I am not against medicine, pharmaceuticals, because I feel that there is a place for it. And yet, with what I've seen with my clients and with my family and even with my own health, there is a way to bridge the two together so that it works for the client, so it works for the patient, so that um, they're finding ways to help themselves that where they don't have to rely on medicine that can cause severe constipation or some of the severities in the disclaimers that they put in the meds. And so tonight, our special guest is Lori Moretti. And Lori is owner of the Cannabis Outreach Center in Addison. Lori, welcome to Under the Alder Tree.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you are here tonight. And Lori has a unique story, but not unique to many of you who are out there tonight. And I believe, was it a car accident you were in, Lori?
Yes,
Where
a
you
lady
hurt
ran
your
a stop
back?
sign and busted my back up. Had to have rods put in my back.
Wow. And that was about how long ago?
1999, and then 3 screws came loose, so they had to redo the surgery, put in bigger screws, and it was just very painful.
Yeah. So
Very,
you've
very
been
painful.
on quite a journey with your health and figuring out how to manage pain and
Well, I
looking
was
at.
basically one of the sheep just taking the opioids and the naproxen and the muscle relaxers. And I just realized after 17 years, they just kept upping the dose, upping the dose, upping the dose. And I seen the benefits with my mom being a cancer patient with
Mhm.
pain. And I'm like, I'm going to try it for myself. I applied for the program, became, a candidate and qualified. And then I don't take any of them anymore. All 3 pills are gone.
Yeah, yeah. And so I do want to get into the benefits of like the difference that's made for you in just living day-to-day life. And if you wouldn't mind sharing more detailed story about your mother's journey in her, what she was dealing with, the treatments she was under, and then what you saw when the medical cannabis was actually introduced.
Yes, with my mom, basically I was her caregiver, and
Mhm.
she um, decided to do the chemo and the Rick Simpson treatment, which is pure cannabis oil for 90 days. They call it a titration. What I seen it do is she got off the fentanyl patch, replaced it with Mary's medicine patch. She would eat a couple edibles, and that would take away some of the pain. She wouldn't have to do the opioids. Then all the other opioids and fentanyl patches had side effects, which were even more harmful for her. She already
What
had a
were
weekend
some of those, what were some of those side effects that she had dealt with?
constipation, and she was constantly sleeping. She would stagger around the house. When your pain tolerance is as high, these cancer patients have severe pain,
Yeah.
and the doctors think the solution is, oh, let me just hire your fentanyl patch. Well, a couple times I almost watched her just not breathe because they had her on a fentanyl patch, tramadol, opioids. It's like, how many narcotics can one woman take before they just never wake up?
Yeah.
And so that we started looking at alternatives. That's why she says, "Well, let's try this," because I videotape my mom. I said, "I told you you're not breathing."
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, basically, we had to look for some other options, but palliatively, it also helped her in the end too. A
Mhm.
lot of just a lot of the pain took it. It took a lot of the pain away. And for me, it
Mhm.
gave me my life back because I could barely walk. I was literally sleeping beauty, sitting in bed all night because I didn't want to move. I was in
Mhm.
so much pain. I already have RA and fibro, so to put the back injuries on top of it,
Okay.
and then I had to push myself and push myself just to go to work. And it just, the quality of life, I thought, there's technology. Why do I got to suffer? And I basically just listened to the doctors and did test after test after test. And, it's just scar tissue. You got to find alternatives, which I did. Thank God.
So they suggested you find alternatives?
Well, my new doctor told me that I was going to go to a pain clinic. I've never been to a
Okay.
pain clinic in 17 years.
Hmm.
I said, well, I've seen some benefits with this program. Let me try it. I never went back and ordered a prescription from her again. Even when I hurt my ankle, you know, twisted my knee, you actually have other alternatives going. You're in the most excruciating pain of your life after a
Yeah.
car accident. So you don't have to go get those. You still have to get the naproxen or the Aleve, occasionally. I think once or twice in the last 3 years I've had that refill, but that's it. And my
Hmm.
thyroid pills.
Yeah. Wow.
Big
So
difference.
let's go back to your mother for a minute. So you talked about the constipation. How little was she going at the time that she was on all those meds?
I don't want to be graphic, but she wasn't going at all. My little sister had to pretty much help her go to the bathroom at least twice a day because that caused another level of pain.
Yeah.
It was just insane, the pain just from that,
Yeah.
which put pressure on, the stuff that was growing inside of her.
Yeah. Yeah, as a colon hydrotherapist, I work with a lot of people that have cancer and are on a lot of different meds for that. And one of the biggest issues that they have is constipation. And one of my clients, he was in his second bout of dealing with cancer and on the opiates for the pain and the meds. And I get a call from his wife from the hospital because I'd worked with him for years. He'd get in trouble with not moving his stool through. And she's like, Shelly, she says, can you come to the hospital? Is there anything you can do to help him out? And I'm like, they're not going to let me do anything at the hospital. And
Right.
she said, well, would you come anyway and see? And I said, well, you need clearance from the doctor that it's okay for me to come there. They got the clearance. I came there. He literally looked like he was 12 months pregnant. His skin was so thin, you could actually see the stool through it. And
Mm,
when I went to do the digital exam, it's like I couldn't because it was right there.
right.
And then he died the next day.
Oh
So
my God.
sad, so sad.
So sad.
And it's like if people could know about this sooner, to have some kind of relief sooner, what kind of difference would it make for everybody?
Well, imagine the people that don't know that their family members are going through this constipation issue. If my mom didn't move in with me for me to take care of her the last few
Mm.
months, these are all things I'm like, how, this is another thing on top of the pain you're dealing with now, Mom. Let's see if there's alternatives. And it was just
Yeah,
finding out what was best for her at the dispensary and then what alternatives. So she got rid of the fentanyl, the tramadol, and the opioid, the Norco, all
wow.
and replaced it with different cannabinoids, tinctures under her tongue, the Mary's medicine patch.
Yeah. So imagine having all that waste backed up in your system and
Hmm.
all the drugs and the side effects of the drugs, and the body begins, well, and what I've seen with my mother, the body begins to shut down. And when you can start weaning yourself off of those meds and doing things in a more healthful way, then the body can begin to respond. And I'm also going to say there is a point of what I would say is a point of no return where, really what we try to do is get people in a place of no pain and relaxation as comfortable as possible. And then even with my mother now, my mother, pot was something she smoked all the time. And when she couldn't smoke it anymore, then she and my dad would make like cookies, brownies, all
Edibles.
kinds of things. And it was really interesting. I say funny, but it's not really funny. So here we are in hospice, right? My dad, some of the family members, brothers and sisters, and I could tell my mom wasn't doing so well. And I was like, I really didn't want to see her go through and have another shot of morphine. I'm like, Dad, will you go home and get the cookies? He's like, they're not going to let me bring them in there. And I'm like, she's leaving us soon. And I said, why not let her leave the way she wants to? And so you could see her get this smile on her face. And so he went home,
Oh,
brought her some cookies,
that's
and
sweet.
and so that's how she went. She went her way.
That's
And it
good.
made a difference in the not just the pain relief, but just her
Probably the
overall.
anxiety.
That was one of the biggest issues she had, is because she had COPD and she wouldn't let the doctors run a test for lung cancer, although my grandpa died of lung cancer. And so that's one of the biggest reasons that she would ingest or take the cannabis is or the pot, because it helped her tremendously with the anxiety, because otherwise her, I don't know if it's the body or the lungs would start going into a spasm, and then she'd go into panic, and then she'd go into these sweats, and there were times she would just get to the point where she'd pass out. And so it was like that helped calm her nervous system down so she can breathe easier and relax. So yeah, that anxiety piece is huge. So I'm not certain. Now, do you dispense any of the um, hemp or
Just the
medical?
CBD, not the
Just
THC,
the
just the
CBD?
non-psychoactive one.
Got you. Okay. So, and one of the things that like Lori has events in her facility a couple times a month, and your last event was a cooking event, right?
Actually, the last one was a grow event. The one before that was a cooking event to make your own edibles.
Okay, so you had a growing event, you had a cooking event,
Yeah,
and
they can grow
so
5 of their own plants in Illinois. Patients can. So they
okay,
can grow, instead of buying it from the dispensary, they can grow, if they want a CBD and a plant with THC, they can grow 2 of those.
okay, so there's a limit, and okay, wow. So how much can so here we go. So you're growing your own plant, and is there like a certain limit on how much you can have on your person if you were to get pulled over? Like, how does that type
5
of thing work?
ounces. Yeah, 5 ounces a month. So you could
Ounces?
have 5 ounces you as a patient every month.
Okay,
You got to have it
so
in your trunk. Don't drive with it in your purse, in your console. Don't put it in your glove box. You must keep it in your trunk.
that's a big MUST, folks. So
Yes, you will lose your money that you just bought from the dispensary, all your medication. The police will take it.
and they will say, "Lucky me." And so I'm just curious, what had you decide to open the community outreach center?
Well, after my mom had passed away, she didn't even pass away from the cancer. She got a cut on her leg from the hospital. So it ended up being like a bad staph infection, which it took her life in 5 days.
Wow.
I was crying on the couch and I seen a Facebook ad for women in cannabis looking for 70 volunteers to go around to the libraries and do a public event and talk about the benefits, the application process, and the laws. Well, I knew all 3 of them. I'd done my mom's application, mine, her friends. So what I realized is I live in DuPage County for 27 years, and every time I passed around a little flyer that said Cannabis Campaign 2017, it was like shock and awe. It's like I dropped the napalm bomb on the place.
Mhm.
They were like, "Oh my God, this is legal. There's a dispensary here. There's cultivation centers here. There's options." My mom's got cancer. My dad's got MS. My sister's got Parkinson's. Everybody just started telling me their stories, on how to help,
Yeah.
can it help them. And then we had the qualifying conditions. Right now we have 52 qualifying conditions. Then we only had 12. And
Wow.
then when I actually had the library event, 65 of the sickest people in DuPage County came to the Helen Plum Library. Then I thought, okay, there's
Mhm.
a need here to have this many people here. And then I had my real estate card, and everybody just kept calling it, can you help me? Can you help me? My sister told me about you, and my brother. I did 2 more events, and then I started doing it at hotels and donated spots by the DuPage County. Um, what's his name? Pritzker over there, not Pritzker. Right over there on Rowling Road by Brower House. The Democrats at DuPage donated some space. And then I said, we need an office because we outgrew those. And then it turned into 2 offices, then 3, now 4.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And so one of the things, like when we get together and we're chatting, is you start talking about you need sativia for this and you need this for that. And if you mix this with that and a little bit for this, does it better than a lot of it of that. So can you share what um, like for me, it's Greek. And so there's certain strains for certain issues you would deal with or why you would have one versus another. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, for me, for example, I have severe pain with my back. So I use what's called a Rick Simpson oil. It's pure cannabis oil. It's called Harley Quinn. So it's 65% CBD and then the rest is THC. There's also a 15-to-1 that I use called Harley Sue, which is primarily like 75% CBD and then the rest THC. I find
Mhm.
the CBD properties, there's eight THC and CBD molecules that we can benefit from, but I benefit mostly from the CBDs, the CBG, the CBN, and the CBD itself because of the anti-inflammatory properties. It takes my swelling down in my back. I keep
Okay.
moving, and in my joints. And for migraines, I find that I have to use a sativa. So I get migraines every now and then. So I'll have to actually use a sativa, whether it's a cough drop. I can put a tincture under because I make my own tinctures. So I can put a tincture under my tongue. And then I kind of use it it's kind of replaced everything in my medicine cabinet if you think about it. But my thyroid pill really has. You find something for everything, really, you do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I have learned that not all CBDs are created equal. So there's a big difference if you buy something, I'll say from the gas station versus, I'm trying to think of the word and what to say.
A
So
vape shop,
quality
like a vape
matters.
shop,
Say that
right?
again.
Like a vape and smoke shop
Yeah,
or a
I
gas
don't.
station,
I'm
right?
talking about something that I really don't know a whole lot about, except I know with Nature Sunshine, the product line I work with, they came out with their hemp product, which is called Kemp. And so they were saying with theirs, there's 100 and I think 34 or 40 some, uh, I'm saying bioactive strains of CBD within the product that they've created,
Yep.
where some of the other products may only have 4 strains or 5 strains of it. So, because I've had clients come in and say, well, I've worked with CBD and I've not had any results from it. And so, as I've done my own study and research, I've learned that not all CBDs are created equal. There are some CBDs without the THC.
Right.
There's so where you get it and the quality of it is so important. If you just go somewhere down the street, you may not be getting the quality you're looking for, or may find some result, but might not get as much of a result unless you're getting a higher quality of product. Is that
Yeah, and what I found too, like the gas station next door to my business, before I even thought of selling CBD, I was just the doctor's office. I seen
Mhm.
the ingredients on these bottles, these tinctures and these gummies. I said, this is toxic stuff they're putting in your body. You're here to get on natural stuff. This doesn't make any sense. So I literally searched for 6 months. What I found out there are two types, two main types. You can have the CBD by itself, which is they stripped out all the other CBD properties. So you're talking almost up to 400 things they could take out, which have a lot of medical benefits, which is what yours does have in it. I
Yeah.
tried yours the other day. So you want those properties left in there. Now, if you're a police officer, if you're, somebody that gets tested for THC, you can't have any of those. You have to have just the molecule of CBD. And there are benefits, but it's just the anti-inflammatory, anxiety, not as many as you get when you have the actual additional cannabinoids like you were just mentioning in
So,
there.
so do you call that full spectrum, whole spectrum? Is there a particular
Full spectrum.
full spectrum? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that?
I would recommend everybody try the green. If it's not dark green or light green or has some form of green in it, don't try it because they've usually liquefied it with some MCT oil, and you're not going to get the full medicinal benefits. And they're charging a lot of money for these things, so you really want to make
Yeah.
sure you get something that's a good source, good quality. And I mean, you could use it under your tongue. You can use it topically. You could even make your own topicals if you wanted to. We do classes on
Mhm.
that too.
Yeah, that's really great because I think like some of my clients and even my daughter gotten her medical card, and it's been like an experiment of learning what works best for them.
Yeah.
And so then I didn't even know until I met you so many more things that you can do with it besides vape it or have it on as a cream or take it as a tincture. Um, so if there's a class in your, when there's a class in your facility, how long are the classes usually, and what will people usually go away with? Will they be making something there, or is it primarily they come in and they sit to listen? How does that go?
Well, they basically come and sit, excuse me, for a 2-hour class. And
Hmm.
Bobby Bakes Good is usually our primary speaker. She's one of the edible makers for the cultivators now. Comes in and
Okay.
does something. A lot of people are gluten free, soy free, wheat free in DuPage County and mostly Illinois too. They're trying to have healthy options. So she shows you how to make something right at home. You can go home learning how to make a avocado dip. You want to know how much CBD am I going to put into this avocado dip? So when my guests come over, how many is it per serving? You want 10 milligrams per serving. This is how you're going to do the math. So she basically teaches you how to prepare
So
it,
you can
break
actually
down the
cook with
CBD.
it and food
Yeah.
like that?
Oh yeah, we make an isolate right there in front of everybody.
Okay.
Make 3 bottles of your own CBD tincture, and then you could also make, the brownies balls. We make the brownie balls there. We've made the avocado dip. She's made one other thing, a candy, all right there in
Okay.
2 hours. So you don't have to cook, so you don't have a stove because we don't have a stove there. So I wanted something that people could just do right in their own kitchen without, turning the
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah. So let's talk about the cooking for a minute. So when you're cooking your product, is what I'll call it, does it lose any of the benefits, or does it maintain the integrity of the potency of what you're working with?
It depends on what you're working with. So, for example, if you're working with a CBD isolate, like I was just talking about, you're not going to heat it up very much at all. You're just going to get it warm enough where you can melt that MCT oil in to get it mixed it to a consistency so you have it all absorbed into so the CBD is all absorbed so you can mix it into the avocado.
Hmm.
Same if you're going to put it into the 3 bottles. You need to measure out 30 millimeters. You're going to warm up that whole bottle. No temperature over like 130 degrees. Now THC, you have multiple different levels because it's your activation point. THCV, THCA. I found THCV helps me lose weight. Well, you have to get the candies to 400 degrees to get to that THCV. But you're
Wow.
going to have very, very strong sativas that are, hard candies. So I've kind of played around and made a couple mistakes myself where I've learned, oh, this is how you do this. And now I do the smart thing too. Now I dose my own. So you take the syringe and you take, a tray of caramels. You just basically cut the caramels in half and you dose it 10 milligrams, 10 milligrams on each one. Take the other piece of caramel, put it on top. I'll put it in the freezer. You want a dose of 10 milligrams, put it in your mouth. You want 20, you take 2 of them. And I do sativa, so you stay awake during the day because you don't want to do that at night. You'll be up all night.
Okay.
Hybrid, so you can be right in the middle. You're pain free or easy, cool, going, no anxiety. And then indica, if you want to go to sleep or you've got massive muscle spasms and you just want to relax, you would do an indica edible.
Okay. So my next question is about how much, what works the fastest. So if you want something to work like that, what do you take? If you want something that I'm in an okay spot and I just need to slowly decompress.
So if you have COPD and you want to decompress, you obviously can't smoke because that's the fastest way to get the medicine in you, inhaling it. You would put the tincture under your tongue and do it sublingually. If you are a smoker, within 45 seconds, you're going to feel the effects because it's going right into your bloodstream through your lungs.
Yeah. And then if you're putting it in food, then
Now that's a different story. Some people it takes an hour to 2 hours to actually, because it has to go through your bloodstream through your liver. So I see a lot of new patients call me up at 12 o'clock. I took 2 gummies and I think I should go to the hospital. Well, they shouldn't have taken 2 because they thought one didn't do anything. So of course they take a second one. And then now they're like climbing the walls and they don't know what to do. And I told them, start low, go slow.
oh,
It
that's funny.
happens. Everybody's body's different though, if your metabolism's quick, you can feel it in 45 minutes. Most people, it takes about 45 minutes.
Okay. That's funny. So, any last words that you have for those who are considering working with CBD or the medical marijuana?
We do have two programs. We have the opioid alternative program. So if they want to try to get off the opioids, they can try the cannabis for 90 days. And then we have the other program that's 52 conditions. If you have anything from chronic pain to cancer, we can sign you up there. We have 4 locations. So come on down. We'll be glad to help
Okay.
you.
So is there a particular number or website? Does your website give information on those 2 items, or do you want
Yes.
people to contact you directly?
Yeah, that'd be great if they want to just contact us directly. We can set them an appointment right then and there.
Okay, what number do they call
630,
you?
they can call me at 630-669-5912 at Medical Cannabis Community Outreach.
Okay, great. Well, Lori, this has been really great, and thank you for being under the alder tree with me tonight.
Thank
And
you.
it was a wealth of information, and I'm encouraged by the difference it makes in how people feel. And the biggest thing I notice is people feel like they're in the game of life again,
Hmm.
or before they
Yeah, you're
felt.
giving people their husbands back, their wives, veterans, actually have their whole families coming back around because they're not taking 20 different meds. They're taking, 1 or 2 strains and living
Yeah,
their life finally.
yeah,
Big difference.
big difference. And what I love is that you and I both have that same synergy, is we want people to get better. We want you guys to have better quality of life. And if there's
Exactly.
anything we can do to help you in that journey, we're here for you. So thank you for joining us under the Alder Tree, your place for health, well-being, beyond your wildest dreams. This is the place where magic happens. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.